welcome to the Saltire Literary Awards 2018. I'm Sarah Mason, I'm the Programme Director of the Saltire Society. The Saltire Society is an independent charity which works to champion Scottish culture. We're a voice supporting that culture for the generations to come, and tonight is an example of that championing. The Literary Awards celebrate and bring wider attention to Scottish literary excellence, ranging from young academics and emerging publishers to more established writers. Sorry, I've been doing a lot of running. We're proud to have seen these awards grow. Those of you who've been before will know that this is a slightly bigger venue than normal. And this is thanks to our headline sponsors, Creative Scotland, and we're very, very appreciative. They're bigger, but we hope that they're better than ever, without losing any of that kind of unique and distinctive quality that they're known for, which is literary excellence in all its forms, styles, and genres. Excellence is always at the heart of all our awards. It's my privilege tonight to navigate us through this evening's ceremony, and I hope I can do the talent and give them the recognition that they deserve. So just before we start to the actual proceedings, I'd like to bring your attention to the goodie bags. I'm not going to mention that Ryan Van Winkle's already been in there. There are lots of lovely things in there. If you're lucky enough to find either a blue ticket, and we're calling that gold, then you have something lovely. If you find myself, Katrina, Ashley, who's hiding around the back live tweeting, or Scott, who's looking very smart in his suit. So yes, find us and you'll get a lovely prize. So this evening we're making 10 awards. I should have said, leave them alone just now. They won't go anywhere. Pop them down. There's exciting things coming. So we're making 10 awards this evening, each with a wee piece about the shortlist, and then the announcement of the winner and a few words from the winner themselves. Once we've made all our announcements, it's time to really celebrate with drinks and nibbles, hearty discussions, meeting old friends and making new ones. There's also a wee bit of music and a photo booth this year with lots of exciting things. So please do post your photos and comments using the hashtag #SaltireLiterary. So, on to the good stuff. Our first award is the Ross Roy Medal, run by the Scottish University Committee of Scottish Literature. To introduce and announce the award, I'm pleased to welcome Professor Jerry Carruthers to the stage.
Thank you very much. We're very grateful in the University's Committee for the Teaching of Scottish Literature to the Saltire Society for including this award in your proceedings. And this award is for the best PhD thesis in Scottish literature in the past year, and it's named in memory of Professor G. Ross Roy. And very recently, just last month, his widow died, Lucy. His wife died, his widow died, and so we've come to the end of an era, but the good news is that the medal will go on because we've got 10 more of these, at least, waiting to have names put on in future. And this year, the shortlist includes 3 nominations: Helen Williams, Edinburgh Napier University, for Scotland's regional print economy in the 19th century; Stephen Hall, University of Glasgow, for John Smith Youngest, 1784 to 1849, and the Book Trade of Glasgow; and Lauren Weiss, University of Stirling, for the Literary Clubs and Societies of Glasgow during the long 19th century, a city's history of reading through its communal reading practices and productions. And the winner is Lauren Weiss.
There are so many people I'd like to thank. Tonight, I just want to start with the University of Stirling and the University of Strathclyde for funding my PhD. Without them, it would not have been possible. There are so many academics, librarians, archivists, scholars across Scotland and England that I would need to thank the Wistas so long, but without their help, my PhD also would not have come to fruition. It was their expertise, it was their talent, it was their encouragement that allowed me to do this project. So I'm extremely grateful to you all. And I'd also like to thank my husband for his continued support. These 3 years have been incredibly wonderful. I've enjoyed my work so much. And he's never doubted how fantastic this project is. So thank you very much. And thank you for this fantastic award. I'm extremely honored. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Our next award is the Research Book of the Year. See, I shouldn't run. The Research Book of the Year, which is an integral part of our Literary Awards and is made in partnership with the National Library of Scotland. I'm delighted to invite Kate Newton to the stage to talk to the shortlist and Jackie Cromarty to announce the winner.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. And as ever, it was an absolute pleasure to look at the research book entries for this award. I think that, as well as excellence, what the books on the shortlist all have in common is that they look at their subjects in a new and different way. Jerry Carruthers and Colin Kidd examine the question of literature, but in the context of union, raising very interesting questions of nationhood, union, and how is that reflected in the literature of Scotland. Turning then to the next book on the shortlist, Early Cinema in Scotland. Again, a unique look at a very important part of Scotland's social history, and drawing quite extensively, of course, on the Moving Image Archive at the National Library of Scotland. Ronald Crawford's book on the Chair of Verity looks at, again, a uniquely Scottish phenomenon, pulpit sermons and that whole political influence that the political pulpit sermons had at the time. A very interesting and unique book. Angela McCarthy and Tom Devine look at the whole question of the tea trade through the spectrum of one person who was involved in setting up the tea trade in Ceylon, James Taylor, a fascinating man with a very strange and rather mysterious biography. And finally, Tom Moe, What the Victorians Made of Romanticism, looks at not just small material artifacts, but illustrations in books and statues in cities to see what the actual response was to the Romantic writers, such as Scott and Wordsworth. So it's been a difficult decision that we had some quite heated but always polite discussions when we were reaching our decision. And now I'd like to ask my colleague Jackie Cromarty from the National Library to announce the actual winner.
Thank you, Kate. Good evening, everybody. So the 2018 Saltire Society Scottish Research Book of the Year, supported by the National Library of Scotland, is What the Victorians Made of Romanticism, Material Artefacts, Cultural Practices and Reception History by Tom Moe.
Well, I'm enormously honoured and very, very proud to receive this award. I should thank all of the librarians and archivists who I worked with in the course of writing this book from a very wide range of places, from here in Edinburgh to London to Ontario to Kansas City, Missouri. Their work has made my work possible, and I'm very grateful to them. I'm also conscious that all the books that we'll hear about tonight have some element of research in them. And I guess what sets the books in this category apart is that they have footnotes. And footnotes are the sign that you don't have to take our word for it. You can go and verify the work that we've done and check that what we're offering is not just matters of opinion, but matters of historical fact. And I hope that at a time when our public discourse often has little respect for facts and increasingly seems to be about conflicting opinions, that this award helps to encourage us to think about the integrity of facts and the importance of historical research. So thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm just going to move this because I will turn it around. So the Saltire Society, with Creative Scotland and Publishing Scotland's support, launched the Publisher of the Year Awards 5 years ago with the aim to recognise and promote the important work of publishers. And 3 years ago, we expanded the award to celebrate an individual in the first years of their career in publishing with the Emerging Publisher Year of the Award. So, to tell you about the shortlist and announce the winners of both of these awards, it's my pleasure to welcome Ali Barr, Deputy Head of the Scottish Poetry Library and Director of Stirling Centre for International Publishing and Communication, Professor Claire Squires, to the stage.
Good evening. My name's Ali. I'm the Deputy Director of the Scottish Poetry Library. We launched our new website today, and one of the features that we've introduced is a widget that lets you search for a poem by mood or occasion. For example, the Hatched, Matched and Dispatched. In the mood search, when we were creating the website, there's only room in a drop-down box for 6 moods. So we collated the thousands of inquiries that we get every year into groups, and we chose the top 6 by popularity to go in the search box based on the number of inquiries. I'm not sure whether this says something about what people use poetry for or the state of the Scottish psyche, but the top results were courage, despair and loneliness, grief and sorrow, homesickness, love and optimism, and happiness. So I decided to use our new website to find a poem that would say something about the category of Emerging Publisher of the Year. Publisher as a search term brought back no results. Neither did emerging. So I started to think about what the panel were looking for. How about dynamism? Still nothing. Diligence? Nope. Opportunism? Still drawing a blank. Okay, think like a poet, I thought. New? 27 pages of results. Okay, so I need to narrow that down. Fresh? 4 pages. Getting there. Book? Back up to 8 pages, but in amongst the snippets was a gem, a metaphor for all of it. Book Dusters by Hamish White. There's cliffs of books for us dusters at the NLS. We're at the book face, inch by inch and year by year. We climb, we traverse, we keep the dust off the millions. It's satisfying, not boring. Every book is different, the leather, the cloth, the fancy, the plain. There's time to scan titles, some pretty odd ones, I can tell you. It's like painting the Forth Bridge without the fresh air and fear of drowning. I like the image of a new publisher climbing the book face, inch by inch and year by year, dusting off the old ideas. Every book is different. So to the business in hand, you've got the biographical information if you're reading along. But the shortlist for Emerging Publisher of the Year is Charlotte Brady of Canongate, James Harding from Rhubarb Press, Carolina Orloff from Charcoal Press, Heather Palmer from BHP Comics, Megan Reid, also of Canongate, and Alan Windram from children's publisher Little Door Books. I'd like to ask Professor Claire Squires of the University of Stirling to announce the winner.
Before I announce the winner, I'm going to announce a highly commended award as well. There was such an embarrassment of, well, it's not an embarrassment, it's as it should be. Such a lot of richness in this list that, as with the Publisher of the Year as well, we're also awarding a highly commended award, and that goes to Alan Windram, so congratulations to Alan.
Well, I didn't actually prepare anything because I didn't think I'd actually be up here. But usually I attend events dressed up in a character from a children's book that I've written. But I can't believe it. Thank you very much for being highly commended. It's just an amazing thing. And congratulations to all in the shortlist. And I dedicate my highly commended to my wife, Susan, who's put up with me, running about the country, doing lots of events, organising publishing, and couldn't have done it without you or so many other people, but thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations, Alan. And now to the winner of the Emerging Publisher of the Year, and that is Carolina Orloff. Carolina.
Well, I didn't prepare anything either, and I was quite late actually, and I'll blame the babysitter. Thank you very much to the Saltire Society, obviously, for this extraordinary award. I was listening to Ali Bar. Hi. Hello. And I was thinking the word missing out of those 6 words was madness, because I think that's actually what defines the start of Charcoal Press, is utter madness. Bravery and passion and love, that all goes in the mix, absolutely, but I think we were completely crazy to start this venture, and I'll shut up now because I'm sure I'm rambling, but doing mad things pays off, I think, and it's actually unbelievable to be standing here today and receiving this award. And I cannot think of a better place to have started this than Edinburgh and Scotland, and the support we've received from Creative Scotland, Publishing Scotland, and the Edinburgh International Festival. And I think a lot of people here, actually, Laura Jones, and I can see a lot of people here that have been supporting us all along. So thank you. And if you haven't heard of us, I hope you will now look out for us and what we're doing. Thank you.
I'm now going to tell you about the shortlist, and then we'll announce the Saltire Society Publisher of the Year. We have 6 publishers contending for Publisher of the Year, and as I said, we'll also be awarding a highly commended publisher. The diversity of the publishers on the shortlist, from startup to established company, from graphic novel publisher to illustrated books documenting our historic environment, demonstrate the richness and diversity of the industry here in Scotland, despite sometimes difficult trading conditions. So, just to tell you a bit more about the shortlist. First of all, on our shortlist is 404 Inc., following Heather and Laura's joint win as Emerging Publishers of the Year last year. Tireless in their promotion of their authors and titles, and in getting Jeff Goldblum to help them out occasionally as well. They act as a pathfinder for other startups and demonstrate what can be achieved with little resource. Secondly, BHP Comics, a dynamic graphic novel publisher which has focused on working with underrepresented communities, including BAME individuals and groups. BHP's year-long project Full Colour works with young people to help them create their own comics. And the company also collaborated with 404 Inc. to produce We Shall Fight Until We Win, a celebration of women in public life during the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage. Last year's winner, Berlin, has continued to produce high-quality publishing, and this year published the complete works of Muriel Spark as part of the celebrations of her centenary. Working in collaboration with the Scottish Government and Scottish Book Trust, a complete set of these books has gone into every public library in Scotland. Our next shortlistee is Canongate. Canongate's impressive, bold commissioning and strong marketing positions the company as a global publishing brand. This year, Canongate acquired Seven House and has announced its forthcoming crime imprint, Blackthorn. The efforts made by the whole team are striking, as is evidenced by having 2 employees on our emerging publisher shortlist. 5th on the list is Historic Environment Scotland, which produces lavishly illustrated and superbly produced books of the highest quality. HES works hard to extend its reach and range as an institutional publisher, including partnerships with organisations such as Bloody Scotland. The company's a small team, but achieves a great deal. And last on our list is Luath Press. Luath offers a broad range of books, including works in Gaelic, and contributes strongly to national debate in Scotland through the political orientation of its publishing, including Darren McGarthy's Poverty Safari, winner of this year's Orwell Prize. And I'm going to hand back over to Ali Bar, who's going to announce our highly commended and winners. Ali.
The highly commended publisher is Historic Environment Scotland.
I, again, didn't expect that at all. I'm absolutely blown away. I was kind of really just turning up to bask in the glory of the 20 minutes before I found out I hadn't won. So this is absolutely amazing. I'll just say a very quick thank you. It is a very small team. 2 of them are here tonight, Alistair Burns and Christine Wilson. Oliver Brooks can't be here tonight, but that team of 4 really delivers and punches above its weight, and we're absolutely blown away to receive this. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The Saltire Scottish Publisher of the Year is Canongate. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You go.
Thank you. We're very, very pleased to get this year. Canongate, we've been working hard over the last few years to sort of strengthen our teams, and I think it's really paid off. And we're delighted for Megan and Charlotte that they made it onto the shortlist for Emerging Publisher. Thank you very much for voting for us.
I also wanted to say thanks to the whole kind of ecosystem of Scottish publishing. It's an ecosystem only works when there's kind of multiple species coexisting, and that's what we have, I think, in Edinburgh, whether it's the booksellers, the festivals, the prizes, the Creative Scotland, the other publishers, and I think the more we can work together, the stronger we'll be in that form. We should absolutely also thank our wonderful authors who pour heart and soul and brains into their works and trust us to take them out into the world, and it's our great honour to do that job. And finally, thanks to all 46 members of Canongate across our 2 offices. It's all about you. Well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all our highly commended winners and shortlistees. I think it just shows just how amazing Scottish publishing is at the moment. So we're delighted to have continued our support with the Scottish Historical Review Trust for the Scottish History Book of the Year, which recognises the significance of Scottish heritage and the importance of those working to understand the past, which of course touches our future in some way. To present the shortlist and award, I would like to invite to the stage Professor Chris Watley, who is the chair of the History Awards panel, and Andrew McKillop, who's the chair of the Scottish Historical Review Trust.
Thanks, Sarah. You may remember that last year we decided not to make an award in this area. While there were several very good books in Scottish history published in 2016-17, we didn't feel that any of them met the demanding criteria that we expect. This year, however, I'm delighted to say that we were spoiled for choice, and there were so many fine titles, we found it very difficult to cut the number down to 6, but we got to 6, and in no particular order they are as follows. Michael Anderson, Scotland's Population from the 1850s to today. The term magisterial is one that shouldn't be used lightly, but it truly does apply to this remarkable book about Scotland's population over the last 1.5 centuries. Second, but in no particular order, second on my list is Edward Corp's Sir David Nairn, The Life of a Scottish Jacobite at the Court of the Exiled Stuarts. And this is a meticulously detailed account of the life and times of a Scot in exile who was at the heart of the Jacobite court as it journeyed across mainland Europe. It's interesting that the Jacobite cause failed, but as an historical topic, it's been a remarkable success for many authors and their publishers, and no doubt this will be the same. Third on the list is Cairns Craig, The Wealth of the Nation, Scotland, Culture and Independence. Cairns Craig's insightful and compelling book is genuinely fresh and refreshing. It places Scotland's distinctive culture at the heart of explanations for the strength of Scottish nationalism, and by so doing makes a substantially different contribution to the current debate about Scotland and its future. On a similar topic, we also shortlisted Sir John Eliot's Scots and Catalans, Union and Disunion. This is an intriguing comparative study of the histories of two peoples who have lived in political unions with bigger and more powerful neighbours, and have done so for around about the same period of time. So it's a book that's long overdue, not least because sometimes Scottish history can be a bit parochial. Also shortlisted was Valerie Wallace, Scottish Presbyterianism and Settler Colonial Politics, Empire of Descent. And we included this because we were impressed by the ambition of what is the author's first book. Yes, it's a PhD thesis, it's hard-going at times, but it's an important topic, and well done, Dr. Wallace, for engaging with it. And finally, there is Les Wilson, The Drowned and the Saved, When War Came to the Hebrides. And this is an account of the harrowing tragedy of lives lost when two ships crowded with US troops came to grief off the Hebridean island of Islay towards the end of World War I, exactly a century ago. And this is Scottish history at its best. It's not only thoroughly researched and original, but it also manages to take what at first sight is a local episode, but which on closer inspection has both national and international dimensions. And these dimensions are skillfully interwoven into a narrative that really does grip the reader throughout and is therefore hard to put down. And in these respects, I think it's a model publication in our subject. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Andrew McKillop to announce the winner.
Thank you, Jess. And the winner of the Saltire History Book of the Year is Les Wilson, The Drowned and the Saved, When War Came to the Hebrides.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not, in fact, Les Wilson. I'm Tom Johnston of Berlin, and I had the privilege of editing The Drowned and the Saved. But Les, unfortunately, can't be here. He's on Islay at the moment. But I know that he'd want to thank the judges very much and the Saltire Society. And this award will mean a lot to him because he's lived on Islay for so long, and this is, even though it's a harrowing story, it's a key story about Islay and how the community of Islay responded to the most appalling tragedy at a time when, in the First World War, when a lot of Islay people had sons and daughters away in foreign lands, and we didn't know what was happening to them. Then this two sinkings occurred, and they came to rescued very many of the soldiers who were literally washed up on the shore, and the many dead bodies they buried with great respect, and the whole community worked to try and welcome these, to try and do what they could to remedy what had happened. So it really is a story of how the Islay community operated and was able to operate. And Les, when he was doing research for the book, amongst the people he interviewed, said that one of them said if such a catastrophe was to happen again, the Islay community would respond in exactly the same way. And so in a way, the book, as well as being a record of extraordinary events, is a tribute to Isla and its community. But on behalf of Berlin as well, we would like to thank the judges.
Thank you, Tom, and congratulations to Les again. I just have to mention one thing. As Katrina and myself were very lucky we managed to meet Les before the awards, and he didn't know that he was winning, but he said the person that was most surprised at being shortlisted for a history book award was his O-grade level teacher. So now we're going to have a wee kind of pause in the actual presentations. I'm delighted to invite Ainsley Hamill, songwriter and singer, and Alistair Ian Patterson, pianist and composer, two Glasgow-based musicians who've been performing together for almost 10 years. Let's give us a wee performance.
Well, hello everybody. We hope you're having a good night so far. Alistair and I are going to give you some traditional song to kind of break up the evening a little bit. And we're going to start with a version of The Wild Rover. This is a version learned from Mick West. And if you pick up the chorus, it would be great if you joined in. I've been a wild rover for many a year, and I've spent all my money on whiskies and beer. But now I'm returning with gold and great store, and I swear I will play the wild rover no more. Wild roving, I'll give over. Wild roving, I'll give over, and I ne'er shall become a wild rover no more. I went into an alehouse I used to frequent, and I told the landlady my money was spent. I asked her for credit, she answered me nay, saying custom like yours I could have any day. Wild roving, I'll give over. Wild roving, I'll give over, and I ne'er shall become a wild rover no more. I'll go home to my parents, confess what I've done, and I'll ask them to pardon their prodigal son. And if they caress me as oft times before, I swear I will play the wild rover no more. Wild roving, I'll give over. Wild roving, I'll give over, and I ne'er shall become a wild rover no more. Wild roving, I'll give over. Wild roving, I'll give over, and I ne'er shall become a wild rover no more. Thank you very much. We'll give you one in Gaelic now, and this is a walking song. So when all the ladies in the village used to get together and walk the cloth, and they used to sing these wonderful songs to keep the rhythm of the work going. And this one is called Yedich mi moch matin cheichin, and it's about the rise of the Gaelic language once again, and it going back into education in schools, and people embracing their national and native language once again. So this is Yedich mi moch matin cheichin. Yedich mi moch matin cheichin valilelio Yura vosna horo ela valilelio Hualma mishe skeva evin valilelio Yura vosna horo ela valilelio Gunro gashki yesereri valilelio Yura vosna horo ela valilelio Achur behen kainch na fenja valilelio Yura vosna horo ela valilelio Hurstjad grong kanan femel valilelio Yura vosna horo ela valilelio Hayat kruinen kjaune hela valilelio Yura vosna horo ela valilelio Yura vosna horo ela valilelio Amsen skolchom hadi berda valilelio Yura vosna horo ela valilelio Skytten dunja arein femmen valilelio Yura vosna horo ela valilelio Frisha machten toshi glesta valilelio Yura vosna horo ela valilelio Tokavlanya kagesheshka valilelio Yura vosna horo ela valilelio Ashtichere gusna speran valilelio Yura vosna horo ela valilelio Lishne gels kachatchen cheche valilelio Yura vosna horo ela valilelio Yura vosna horo ela valilelio So we'll give you one more this evening, and we'll finish off with some Purstabiel, or some mouth music, and it's used for dancing. So if you want a wee dance, we wouldn't stop you. And we're going to start off with a Piebrach song that's taken from a wonderful collection put together by a lady called Frances Tolmie. And it's got a very catchy title. It's 105 songs of occupation from the Western Isles of Scotland. You won't forget that one in a hurry. And the song's called O Avanod, which is the Cave of Gold. And there's many versions of this song. And it's said that somebody's sitting at Antopid, which is the well, and apparently they can hear everything that's going on in the cave underneath the well. And apparently there is a monster in the cave, and whoever goes in has to be playing their pipes to create a spell to keep the monster away. But apparently he gets such a fright that he stops playing his pipes and the monster eats him anyway. So there you go. That's Ooh of a North. And then we'll go into some reels about the little man from Gary. And we'll finish up there. But have a lovely evening, and thank you very much for listening to us, everybody.
Bottogenegari, gofrikende sovrakende, bottogenegari, gofrikende severi, bottogenegari, gofrikende sovrakende, bottogenegari, gofrikende severi, samnendayegari, arukami sahukami, samnendayegari, arukami sevameri, samnendayegari, arukami sahukami, samnendayegari, arukami sevameri, bottogenegari, gofrikende sovrakende, bottogenegari, gofrikende severi, bottogenegari, gofrikende sovrakende, bottogenegari. Granieleka, ho granieleka, era rocketrinalia. Granieleka, era rocketrinalia. Aranaldo comele nelle nua mele nakam haranaldo comele scameta candula. Aranaldo comele nelle nua mele nakam haranaldo comele scameta candula. Karamikangilya kor kamilas kakhreda ma karamikangilya kor kamilas kamiari. Karamikangilya kor kamilas kakhreda ma karamikangilya kor kamilas kamiari. Aranaldo comele nelle nua mele nakam haranaldo comele scameta candula. Aranaldo comele nelle nua mele nakam Naldo comele scameta candula. Ma karamikangilya kor kamilas kakhreda ma karamikangilya kor kamilas kamiari. Karamikangilya kor kamilas kakhreda ma karamikangilya kor kamilas kamiari.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ainsley and Alistair. I don't really want to follow that. Luckily, I don't have to. So 2018 is the 30th anniversary of the first book award, and in celebration of that, we're having a special presentation. To speak to and announce this, can I welcome Sally Mapstone, President of the Saltire Society.
So this is a special award to mark a particular anniversary. The Saltire First Book Award was first launched in 1988, and so is 30 this year. And being 30, as some of us can dimly remember, is a bit of a shock to the system. So we are marking that anniversary with a celebratory award that marks out the value of this particular prize. The Saltire First Book Award has, since its launch, shone a light on a remarkable selection of hugely talented writers in prose and poetry. Many First Book Award winners have gone on to become compelling figures in the Scottish literary landscape. The Scottish public were invited to vote for the most influential and inspiring winner of the Saltire First Book Award from a short list of 6, decided by a panel of current and past judges. And these were those who were shortlisted. Kate Clanchy's first poetry collection, Slattern, won in 1996. Since winning, Kate Clanchy's poetry in prose has gone on to be shortlisted for numerous awards, including the Forward Poetry Prize, the Writers Guild Award, and the Costa Book Award. She's also a much featured broadcaster and feature writer, and earlier this year she published a terrific anthology of poetry from pupils at the multi-ethnic comprehensive school with which she works in one of the most deprived areas of Oxfordshire. Michael Faber was awarded the Saltire First Book Award in 1999 for his short story collection, Some Rain Must Fall. Michael's later works have seen successful adaptations, including of The Crimson Petal and the White into a 4-part BBC television series, and of Under the Skin into a feature film. He's received recognition from numerous awards, including the Whitbread First Novel Award, the Neil Gunn Prize, and the Ian St James Award. Jackie Kay won the 1992 award for her poetry collection, The Adoption Papers. Her later work has gone on to gain acclaim, and her first novel, Trumpet, 1998, received the Guardian Fiction Prize. In 2006, Jackie Kay received an MBE for services to literature. In 2016, Jackie Kay succeeded Liz Lockhead as Scotland's third modern Macca. Her first collection as Macca Bantam is a wonderful array in Scots and English of deft, frank, bold, and uplifting poems. A.L. Kennedy's short story collection, Night Geometry and the Garscadden Trains, scooped the Saltire First Book Award in 1991. Since then, her outstanding output has included numerous short story collections and novels, alongside non-fiction, screenwriting, and radio plays. She's received numerous awards, including the Somerset Maugham Award, the Encore Award, the Lannan Literary Award for Fiction, the Heinrich Heine Prize, and the Saltire Book of the Year Award for Day in 2007. Ali Smith won the First Book Award in 1995 for her short story collection, Three Love and Other Stories. In the intervening years, Ali Smith has gone on to be shortlisted several times for the Man Booker Prize and has won awards such as the Goldsmiths and Bailey's Prize and the Costa Book Award for Best Novel. In 2015, she was appointed CBE for services to literature. Each season in her quartet of novels exploring post-referendum Britain becomes both a challenging and a restorative read. Louise Welsh received the Saltire First Book Award for her novel The Cutting Room in 2002. She's subsequently written 7 further novels, 3 plays, and 2 collections of short stories. In 2014, she directed The Empire Cafe, a multidisciplinary exploration of Scotland's relationship with the North Atlantic slave trade, which featured in the 2014 Glasgow Commonwealth Games cultural programme. Louise's thrilling dystopian novels keep you up at night with a book you can't put down. And the winner is Louise Welsh.
Congratulations. I'm just absolutely thrilled for you. Well done.
Thank you. I think last time they told me, and then I prepared something. When I wrote The Cutting Room, the world was rather a different place, and it seems just now that we're living in a very difficult political situation. But were Rilke to walk into Scotland just now, he would find things are much better for LGBTQ plus people. So not everything. We've won some amazing rights. Thank you to everybody. The same people that I thanked way back then, I should thank now. Canongate, congratulations. And my family, Judy Moyer, who edited The Cutting Room, and of course, Zoe Strachan. Thank you all very much.
Congratulations again, Louise, and I think we can all agree, I mean, she's amazing, a stunner. Anyway, so the Poetry Book of the Award was established in 2014 in partnership with the Scottish Poetry Library. And I'm delighted to introduce Asif Khan, Director of the Library, to speak to the shortlist and to ask celebrated poet Miriam Gable to announce the winner.
Good evening. My colleague Ali Barr usually starts his presentations with a terrible joke, and it would be remiss of me not to include one tonight. So Miriam, how do poets greet each other at parties?
That's not in the script.
No. Have we no metaphor? That's the terrible joke for the night, right? So earlier this week, the Scottish Poetry Library hosted an incredible event produced by 404 Inc. and Noiriki, with Kaya Spankoli from the band Young Fathers, who was in conversation with African-American poet Jason Reynolds. Jason said, "Poets and poems can't save somebody's life, but they can create empathetic spaces." So I'll repeat that again. Poets and poems can't save somebody's life, but they can create empathetic spaces. And I'd like to think that this year's poetry book shortlist bears witness to that testament. So I'll move on to the shortlist now. Firstly, we have Sophie Collins for Who is Mary Sue, published by Faber. This exquisite debut collection scrutinises our assumptions about the voice of a poem. Skillfully tessellating prose quotations with fierce glimpses of strength and uncannily enlivening inanimate objects, Collins' precise poetic structures beautifully and subtly probe the politics of recognition and obfuscation that haunt women's histories, both religious and secular. Next up, we have Jackie Kay for Bantam, published by Picador. Jackie Kay's Bantam is a collection of personal discovery and public commissions. Kay traverses the map of the human heart like a pathfinder for compassion and courage. Old and new, familiar and unfamiliar acquaintances intersect in places shaped by the lore of the past, present, and future. Thirdly, we have Roddy Lumsden for So Glad I'm Me, published by Blood Axe. Lumsden's poetry takes a personal and occasionally melancholic tone as he invokes memory, sensation, relationships, love and music, always music, in a flux of friends, memories, late night soul tunes, and the unexpected and tender collisions that define not only who we are, but also what makes the world around us. This is a collection full of linguistic energy, density, surprise, and delight. Next up, we have Robin Robertson for The Long Take, published by Picador. Painstakingly researched and technically innovative, The Long Take tells the story of Walker, a traumatised veteran of World War II. At once lyrical and gritty, this capacious, genre-bending portrait of mid-20th century America, a stark pie into those Hollywood left behind, uncovers disturbing parallels between boomtime peace and the horrors of war. And that was beautifully written, Miriam. Thank you for that. And finally, we have Jay Walker with Roots Watch, published by Cinnamon Press. The unexpected changes of fortune in human life are grafted into the natural world, animate and inanimate, in a series of succinct poems creating a deeply personal and moving collection. The poems are alert and humane, even humorous when least expected. For a first collection, this is a very assured, mature, and coherent piece of work. And I'd like to hand over to my fellow judge and poet, Miriam, to announce the winner.
Thanks, Asif. As a panel, we're really proud of and invigorated by this shortlist. We feel it showcases an exciting range of voices, approaches and concerns, and demonstrates the reach and breadth and dynamism of what, at this particular moment, Scottish poetry is and can be. Although they are very different, we also feel that every book we shortlisted combines the tackling of weighty material with the evolution of distinctive and achieved technique. So our hearty congratulations go out to everybody who was shortlisted for the significant and substantial achievements these books represent. We were a panel of 6, which is in itself a lot of voices. So we had many energetic and mostly amicable conversations along the way, both in arriving at the shortlist and in arriving at the winner. It was close fought. The last meeting we had was pretty long, but in the end, we were unanimous in our support for and admiration of the book we chose to give the prize to. It's a collection that combines delicacy with toughness, clear-sightedness with complexity, and focus with extent. We all loved reading it, and we can't wait to see the next one. So, without further ado, I am delighted to announce that the winner of the 2018 Saltire Poetry Book of the Year Award is Wristwatch by Jay Whittaker.
Thank you, everyone. I didn't expect that. So I should thank the Saltire Society and the judging panel for everyone in the Scottish poetry scene who has got me to this point. Heartfelt thanks. Thank you to all my friends and family, to the NHS. Particular thanks to Marie O'Donnell, my partner, and yeah, I've run out of words. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
So up next is the first book of the year, which, as you've seen from Sally Mapstone saying, over its past 30 years, has been pretty good at spotting great literary figures. So I'm pleased to invite Mary Kidd, Interim Head of Literature and Languages of Publishing. Oh my goodness. I'm too excited. I need to calm down. Right. I'm pleased to invite Mary Kidd, Interim Head of Literature, Languages and Publishing at Creative Scotland, and Helen McClory, a previous winner of the award, to the stage.
I do have the worst job title anywhere, so I'm not surprised that it tripped you up. It's a tremendous pleasure to introduce the shortlist for the First Book Award on behalf of Creative Scotland. Throughout our history, Scotland's writers have been one of our major assets, and it's hugely encouraging to see the strength of the shortlist tonight, representing a broad view of Scotland's languages, our strong traditions of storytelling, our experimental writing, and our world-class non-fiction. The shortlisted titles, in no order, are Christina Neurith's Amphibian. In addition to the first novel shortlist tonight, Amphibian has also been shortlisted for the Novella Award. It tells the tale of Rose Ellis, who arrives at work one morning to find the entire 4th floor has been flooded with water in an attempt to improve productivity. This has a particular resonance for us at Creative Scotland, since the same thing happened to us. I'm not sure whether it was intentional that productivity should increase, but NHS Lothian treated us to the same treatment last week with a flood from their pipes. If you've not already read Amphibian, then I urge you to pick it up and to discover Rose's wonderfully surreal plight for yourself. Christina is a truly original voice in fiction, and she is also engaged at present into vital research into gender representation across the Scottish literary sector, and I'm confident that we will hear much, much more from her, both as a writer and a researcher, and that the sector will be very much the stronger for her work in both areas. The second shortlisted title, most fittingly, is from our publisher of the year tonight, Canongate Books, and it is Mick Kitson's Sal. This debut has earned Mick a number of accolades, including being named a New Face of Fiction 2018 by The Observer. It's a heartwarming story about the end of childhood, the strength of sisterly love, and the power of nature to heal even our deepest wounds. It has had an enormous presence in the book trade throughout the UK, and as many of you in this room know, that is no mean feat, and it clearly heralds the arrival of a major new voice in our fiction. The third title on our shortlist, Alex Boyd's St Kilda, The Silent Islands, is a stunning photography book capturing the reality of St Kilda today in a series of photographs. St Kilda is often romanticised, the island on the edge of the world, but Alex's focus encompasses not only the landscape and the remnants of the St Kildans themselves, but also the modern presence of the Ministry of Defence and Kinetic and their impact on what is today a wilderness landscape. And I'll switch into Gaelic for the last title on the shortlist. Ha tógal y drwbain le calum el machlód, y grochwch eid ceist garidif ingenach, at se he tógal y drwbain yn yelain, ha behegai fi ga chwrtrilan, nyr o lorach e corp an sy'n iemin, corp nach el sgial, nyr e higa hein y joiga gol y laigsio. Sio y hiet nofel e calum agos hamidochus y hiet che an y streg y mathfate. Toggle a Drewbine Picking Cockles by Callum L. MacLeod is a thriller with an intriguing premise. While he's picking cockles on the island, David's life is turned upside down when he finds a body in the seaweed, and said body disappears when he comes round after a fainting fit. This is Callum's first novel, and he's a vital new voice in Gaelic literature. There you have the shortlist. On behalf of Creative Scotland, and I'm sure all of us here, I'd like to congratulate all shortlisted authors. The future of Scottish writing looks very safe. Melanelch Udif Ula Gadidiv, and I'm delighted to hand over to Helen to announce the winner.
Thank you, Mary. It is wonderful to be presenting this, and as you said, it's such a strong list, and for everyone who's on the short list, it's going to open so many doors, and even more so for the winner. Yes, I'm delighted to say it's Sal by Mick Kitson.
There we go. Yeah. Gosh. I think I'm going to cry. Thank you so much. I really don't know what to say. I'll thank my publisher, Canongate, who are wonderful, and my agent, Kath Summerhayes, who's also wonderful. And I'm not Scottish, but I've lived here for quite a long time, and it does strike me that Scotland is the best place to be a writer, and the best place to write about, partly because of the natural landscape, partly because of the language that you come across, the different language that you come across all over the place, but mostly really because, I mean, without wanting to sound suki, as my wife would say, because of the people. And so this is extremely wonderful, and thank you very much.
Congratulations again, Mick. We've now reached the Non-Fiction Book of the Year award. To take us through the shortlist, we have bookseller and award judge Henna Griffin, and to announce the recipient, literary agent Jenny Brown.
Well, there's a lot of people here. Good evening, everyone. It's really lovely to be here, and I must say that this year's shortlist and long list were both very, very strong, so deciding the winner was quite a challenge. But here are the nominees in no particular order. First, we had All That Remains, A Life in Death by Sue Black. One of the world's leading forensic anthropologists writes on life, death, and the space where the two meet. For Black, death is a she, and while this book is about death, it's more about life and the stories that we leave behind us when we do go. Then we had The Story of Looking by Mark Cousins. It was an eclectic journey through the development of our gaze, placed in a global and historical context. This lavishly produced book invites the reader to look again at what they thought they'd seen and understood and casts it in a new light. We had Robert Louis Stevenson in Samoa by Joseph Farrell, a rich and well-researched exploration of Stevenson's final 4 creative years on the Pacific island of Samoa. This biography inspires the reader to re-examine Stevenson's work in a way that many others have not. Waiting for the Last Bus, Reflections on Life and Death by Richard Holloway. This was an incredibly profound and moving book, and I must admit I cried several times reading it, but I'm a sap, in which the author refused to shy away from the subject of death and instead explores the lessons we learn from it. This book explores grief and loss in a way that many are afraid to tackle, but it explores it with a gentleness and consideration. We had Moscow Calling, Memoirs of a Foreign Correspondent by Angus Roxburgh. A fascinating insight into the lives of everyday Russians from the decline of the Soviet Union to the rise of Putin. These memoirs of a foreign correspondent show a real compassion for both Russia and its people. And finally, Appointment in Arezzo, A Friendship with Muriel Spark by Alan Taylor. This is a memoir and a travelogue bringing the reader close to the legendary Muriel Spark, as Taylor recounts his incredible friendship with her. Taylor writes with real wit and style, which are 2 of the things that Spark valued the most.
Good evening. As one who campaigned the Saltire Society some years ago to include the new category of non-fiction amongst this array of awards, I am so glad to see the strength and diversity of this shortlist, which demonstrates just how good we are in Scotland at narrative non-fiction. And so, the winner of the 2018 Saltire Non-Fiction Book of the Year award is All That Remains, A Life in Death by Sue Black.
I'm an academic and I write textbooks and nobody reads those. And when I wrote this, I wrote it for my children and I wrote it for my grandchildren and those generations that you will never know, because there are stories that we all need to leave behind. And I have to say that what I hadn't anticipated, and I know this sounds stupid, but I hadn't anticipated that other people would read it too. And what I've been bowled over with is the response of public. So a young man, a courageous young soldier that I worked with in Iraq, who is suffering the most horrendous post-traumatic stress, because he read it, he reached out. A young mother who's dying of cancer, who wrote to me and said, "I'm now no longer afraid." And I think that's the most important thing about books, is they touch people. And so I have to say that the book that has touched me the most this year is Waiting for the Last Bus by Richard Holloway, who is my dear friend. So thank you.
Congratulations, Sue. We've reached our penultimate award already, and it's the Saltire Fiction Book of the Year. The Fiction Book Award, with many different names, has been celebrated by the Society since 1937. To speak to this year's shortlist, I'd like to welcome Mark Ringe, who is one of the judges, and to announce the winner, celebrated poet Kathleen Jamie.
Fescar Magaith, na Leorichan, Havakin I the Yarlista or Son, Duish Fiction Blianasa. This year's 6 shortlisted books for the Fiction Prize. Leila Abu Leila's collection of short stories, Elsewhere Home, published by Saki Books, is perceptive and compassionate. Her reader never feels excluded as we encounter the unfamiliar. She takes us through the lived lives of migrants and the dynamics of mixed-race relationships. She's as understanding of a waif of a Peterhead student on a statistics course as she is of a Sudanese immigrant. These stories are warm, rich, and enticing. How often are we told don't judge a book by its cover? Well, the judges on our panel had to remind ourselves of this, as pretty well all of us on the fiction panel admitted that if we had been browsing in a bookshop, we wouldn't have been attracted by the cover of the next book. Fortunately for us, very fortunately for us, Andrew Crummie's The Great Chain of Unbeing, published by Daedalus, landed in our laps, and we were so richly rewarded by this restlessly inventive trail of short stories, tremendously varied in form, setting, and subject, but loosely bound by a recurrent theme of music and by our sympathy for Crummie's characters. Please buy it, so it has to have a reprint with another cover. As I should say for all of them, you should definitely buy all of them on this list. Just when you think you've actually at last enumerated all of Sally Magnusson's talents as a communicator, she pulls another one out of the bag. From a superb writer of non-fiction, she now moves to her first novel. The Seal Woman's Gift, published by Two Roads, opens in Iceland in 1627 and recounts events which are scantily enough recorded in the historical record. The account of the violent abduction of Icelanders by Turkish corsairs to become slaves in North Africa. The real joy of this novel is how Sally Magnusson takes us into the experiences the historical record didn't even consider worth thinking of, the lives of the women. Helen Sedgwick's The Groig Season, published by Harvill Secker, plays with the borders of dystopia and utopia. In an alternate reality, a startling scientific innovation has fundamentally changed how we reproduce and nurture. This is an absolutely intriguing interrogation of power, technology, and our most instinctive roles as humans. A very impressive book. As is A Treachery of Spies by Manda Scott and published by Transworld. It's a gripping espionage thriller flitting between now and the 1940s in the French Resistance. Where does the excitement, the thrill of mortal peril, and the special operations training go when the war is over? The action and the pace are just stupendous, and the characters may not even be who they themselves think they are. What a rush we got from this book. And where would a fiction shortlist be without an Irvine Welsh? In Dead Man's Trousers, published by Jonathan Cape, the Trainspotting crew are 50 and back. Welsh gives us everything we expect him to excel at, as the tale jumps from California to Berlin to Istanbul and, of course, Leith. Is this their last outing? Is it significant that Welsh finally allows Hibs to win the cup? We'll have to wait and see. So who won? Kathleen Jamie's going to tell you.
What a thrilling shortlist. Congratulations to all. But let's not linger. It's my pleasure to announce that the Saltire Scottish Fiction Book of the Year 2018 goes to Elsewhere Home by Leila Abilele.
Thank you very much. Of course, I did rehearse what I would say if I win, but I don't know what to say now. Just to say thank you. Thank you to my husband, Nader, for bringing me to Scotland, where I started to write. And these stories were written, some of them were written when I very first came to live in Scotland from Sudan. And they're very much the point of view of an immigrant. I'm grateful to Joy Hendry in Chapman, who published my very first short story. Marion Sinclair published my first novel in Polygon. The Aberdeen Central Library for being there for me and having a place to go where I could read books and speak to writers in residence. And there I also attended readings by writers, including Catherine Jamie. I remember you with the Queen of Sheba many years ago. So thank you very much.
So we have reached our final award of the evening. The Saltire Scottish Book of the Year is chosen from amongst all the book award winners you've seen this evening. And the winner receives a further £6,000 prize. I'm delighted to invite Cabinet Secretary for Culture, Tourism and External Affairs, Fiona Hislop, to say a few words and present the award.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by thanking the Saltire Society for inviting me to be here this evening to announce the most prestigious of the awards, the 2018 Saltire Society Scottish Book of the Year. I'd also like to take this opportunity to congratulate Sally Mapstone for being the first female president in the Saltire Society's 82-year history. I think this appointment coincides obviously with Women First receiving the vote 100 years ago. It's very appropriate and I wish Sally every success for the future. So it's a real pleasure to be here on St Andrew's Day. Happy St Andrew's Day, as these Saltire Society Awards help us to celebrate and showcase Scottish excellence in all literary forms. And what a fantastic range of writers and authors you've heard of this evening. Can I say, I now have my Christmas list sorted for all my presents. I think for all my family there's something in here that will reach everyone, and I think we should help promote with our publishers our fantastic literary talent. I know everyone's eager to know who the winner is, but I've been asked to say a few words and have a few reflections. The Scottish Government is constantly seeking new ways to further and encourage a nationwide love of books and of reading. And I believe that a country which values the written word and the exchange of stories, ideas and opinions is more likely to be open, to be outward-looking and empathetic. So the Scottish Government takes every opportunity to promote reading across society. Last week we saw the 2018 Book Week. It's an annual celebration of reading. It started in 2012, and as Culture Minister I was delighted to personally make sure that it was set up and funded. Last week events took place across communities. It included the First Minister holding a public discussion with author Maggie O'Farrell at Stirling Castle. We've set up the First Minister's Reading Challenge, an initiative delivered by the Scottish Book Trust, challenging and supporting school children to read as much and as widely as possible. And we work with local authorities to support Scotland's libraries, and I have managed to maintain our financial support of the Scottish Library and Information Council and the Public Library Improvement Fund, despite difficult financial climates. And we also fund organisations supporting and promoting writing, like the Scottish Trust, who receive significant levels of funding from the government. The Scottish Poetry Library and Publishing Scotland receive support from Creative Scotland, as many others do too. And through the Expo funding, the Scottish Government supports major literary events like the Edinburgh International Book Festival and the Scottish International Storytelling Festival. And all this is to help celebrate and showcase creative writing to new audiences of all ages. And I only know too well that without the brilliant efforts of so many of you here today, none of this would happen. So thank you so much. Of course, this year we've seen the centenary of the birth of Dame Muriel Spark, who lived in Edinburgh, Zimbabwe, London, New York and Tuscany. She is one of Scotland's literary giants, and to this day her work continues to inspire generations of readers and writers and resonates with audiences across the world. Indeed, just last week, during another hugely successful Book Week Scotland, the First Minister announced £45,000 support, match funded by the Postcode Lottery, to provide every public library in Scotland with a complete set of Muriel Spark novels. And that's because as we celebrate the centenary of her birth this year, I think we could learn even more from the imagination and the intellect of Muriel Spark, her internationalist outlook, her inquiring mind, and for Scots, an irreverent wit. And I have the great pleasure of travelling around Scotland to experience our rich culture. And I often reflect that what strikes me is that we've always been a nation of makers and storytellers. How we make and tell stories changes as the world changes. It's important to understand your own heritage, your culture and languages, and it's important to celebrate them too. But we have to reflect the now, and we have to inspire for the future. So I'd like to thank the Saltire Society for developing, celebrating and helping preserve all that is best in Scottish traditions, and their encouragement in the new ways to strengthen, to enrich and celebrate the country's rich cultural life. These awards have a proud history of celebrating and bringing wider attention to excellence. From poetry to novels to publishing, the Saltire Society Literary Awards offer a much-needed opportunity to celebrate and support Scotland's fantastic literature in all its forms. From the quality of the entries, it's clear that this spotlight has never been more deserved. So thank you to the Saltire Society, and congratulations to all of the shortlisted finalists. Ladies and gentlemen, let us congratulate all the finalists. And now for the moment we have been waiting for, from the outstanding talent that we've seen this evening. It won't have been an easy choice to make. Can I just say I have not been part of the judging panel. However, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to announce that the winner of the 2018 Saltire Society Scottish Book of the Year is All That Remains, A Life and Death by Sue Black, published by Transworld.
Just ask my husband, I'm never lost for words. Somebody asked me, what's the book that I'd most like to read? And I said it's the one that's never been written and will never be written, because I'd love to have read the book of my grandmother's life. She grew up in Glenelg in the 1800s, and what a life she must have had right the way through the First and the Second World Wars. And I never knew what her life would have been like, but she was extremely important to me. And I thought, you know, if I can't read my grandmother's book, then how are my grandchildren going to read mine? And so when I wrote this for my children, as I said. But my grandmother was a great storyteller, and she gave that to my father. And my father was a great storyteller, and very few of them were true, but he was a great storyteller. And when Alzheimer's robbed him of his stories, it persuaded me that, maybe I might one day put these things down on paper. But there was a very important man in my life, and it's not my husband, but there was a very important man in my life who I got in touch with about 15 years ago because I had a book in my mind that I thought I probably wanted to write. And so I wrote a little paragraph and sent it to every book agent in a book that I bought in a bookshop. And one person replied back to me, and that was Michael Alcock. And Michael has waited for 15 years for me to write anything. So that is a man of patience. That's a man who waits. So hopefully by the end of tonight, Michael, the 15 years has been worthwhile. But then I didn't anticipate something. I was at a conference. I told you I have no trouble talking. I was at a conference. And at that conference, I couldn't make it, so I gave the conference by Skype, and it was a conference called Medicine Unboxed. And this woman who I didn't know got in touch with me and said, "You need to write this down." And I felt so proud because I could say, "Speak to my agent," even though my poor agent had nothing for 15 years. What I didn't know was that Susanna Wadeson from Transworld was a friend of Michael's. So I had a pincer action between the two of them, and I had no choice then but to write the book. It was difficult at times because I'm used to talking about my professional career. I'm not very used to talking about my personal life. And a number of people who knew me said, "Gosh, that's a really brave thing for you to do because you don't normally do that." But it was really interesting. And what I wanted to do was to let my children know that there is nothing to be afraid of in death. Because, if you're not dead yet, you're still alive. Isn't that worth celebrating? My father was a Scotsman of his age. He never held my hand. He never hugged me. It wasn't his way. But you knew that he loved you. But the most important thing he did was that he never told me I was a girl. And so he expected me to bake a rhubarb crumble, but he also expected me to be able to French polish a dining table. And that's really important for young girls, to know that you don't need to be classified. And then when I was 17, I met a young man whose girlfriend told me to look after him, and I still am. And so you'll find at the front of the book, it is dedicated to my husband, who, as everybody on the table with him tonight will know, that he is a singular man. There aren't two, and I'm absolutely delighted that there aren't two, because he did one of the most important things, was that he reminded me, and something that we need to remind our young girls, is that we are equal, and equality means equal. And for my husband, I thank him for all the support that we've had through the entire years of strain. But being equal is just an incredible place to be. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Congratulations, Sue, and thank you, Fiona. It's wonderful to have both your support and the Scottish Government for the work we do, so thank you. Wow. I'm not sure what to say. If I could just have one more round of applause for all of our shortlistees and winners this evening. These awards wouldn't be possible without the work of so many people, and we are truly grateful. I'd like to take a minute before inviting Jenny Kumar from the Literature Alliance Scotland to say a few words. We're extremely lucky to be working with so many organisations and partnering bodies and individuals who make them possible. People who believe in the work the Society and Scotland's literary community are achieving today. So thanks tonight to all our judges who've given so much of their time and expertise to the awards, and who've had me pushing and shoving and locking doors so they can decide the winners. To all our supporters, the National Library of Scotland, Publishing Scotland, the Scottish Historical Review Trust, the Scottish Poetry Library, the Society of Young Publishers Scotland, Waterstones, who will be selling books just around the corner, so please get them, and Creative Scotland for their vital support. Thanks to everyone who's helped present these awards this evening. Thanks to Simon Baker, who made the lovely awards that we were handing out. And thanks to the team here. And a special thanks to my colleagues, Katrina, Ashley, and Scott, who have been running around like headless chucks, which has been great. And finally, and most importantly, thank you to the writers and publishers. We salute you and all that you bring to our lives. The tears, the laughter, the friendships, the possibility for us perhaps just for a moment to spend a wee bit of time in a new world or our favourite place. Without you, the world would be a wee bit darker. So please keep doing what you're doing. Please keep the light on. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this year's reception is in partnership with the Literature Alliance Scotland. I'm delighted to invite Jenny Kumar to say a few words before we crack open the bowls.
Thanks, Sarah. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jenny Kumar. I'm the Communications Officer at Literature Alliance Scotland, and I'm really excited to be here tonight. First of all, I want to again say congratulations to all the winners and all the nominees, and also congratulations and a big thank you to Saltire Society for putting on such a fantastic event tonight. LAS is delighted to be partnering with Saltire on the networking element of the evening, which is going to start very soon. In case you don't know, Literature Alliance Scotland is the collective voice for literature and languages in Scotland. We're also Scotland's largest literary network, and we bring together writers, publishers, educators, librarians, literature organisations, and national cultural bodies. Thanks to Creative Scotland, we have an exciting programme of work over the next 2 years that will let us raise the volume of the sector louder than ever before. We'll be commissioning 6 writers over the next 2 years to reflect on the literary landscape in Scotland today. And with a media partner, we'll build our advocacy work around these provocations, which will also form the focus of our meetings. One of these meetings will be a sector away day that will give us all space to debate the key issues and agree practical actions to make progress. We'll also be setting up a writers' advisory group and running professional development sessions on topics like funding and promotion and marketing that will be open to the wider sector as well as to our members. We are encouraging inclusivity in the sector through our new This Is It career programme. This is a tailored opportunity for 2 mid-career literature professionals from a background not typically represented in the sector at leadership level. It comes with a stipend, travel and training budget too. We want to broaden our membership so that we represent all aspects of literature and all over Scotland. So please come and have a chat. I'll even buy you a drink at the free bar. Right, I'll stop talking now so that you can start your conversations and help yourself to drinks and canapes, which I think are over there. Yeah, thank you very much.
So yes, as Jenny said, if you just want to fire on past the globe, there are drinks and canapes.